Hello, everybody. My name is Loredana Valenzano-Slau, and I'm an associate professor in chemistry at Michigan Tech. So today I'm very fortunate to have here with me Mr. Steve Beuther. Steve is on track to graduate in fall 2021 with a bachelor degree in chemistry and a minor in international French. Hi, Steve. How are you today?
Hello, I'm doing very good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for asking. So how about we start right away with your little interview here?
Mm-hmm.
How about you start telling us about your background a bit before getting into tech, and then why you decided to actually study chemistry at tech?
Yeah. So, I grew up just north of Detroit. I grew up in Macomb Township in Sterling Heights, which I know is a pretty nice area. But one thing I noted when I was in high school is that I kind of wanted to get out of the area. It's kind of dense and, very busy, very like traffic filled. So something I kind of knew is I kind of wanted, get away from a more populated area. And something that also kind of tied into was, at some point that I looked at tech, I saw, oh, it's something that's kind of isolated, but also, surrounded by nature, not super populated, something that would be pretty nice. Going along with chemistry, in high school, chemistry was just something that I liked more than any other subject. I was doing the best in chemistry, and also, I also kind of saw that everyone else was also kind of having trouble with chemistry, so that's something that pumped up my ego a little bit. So trying to find something that was good at chemistry, also was a little bit more, in a rural area. Something that kind of jumped out was Michigan Tech. And that's something that as I started to investigate a little bit, I saw that there's some really good things that are coming out of that, which are, there's a high job placement rate, there's a low student to teacher ratio, a lot of things that look pretty good for the university from a student's perspective, because then you can have, more close relationships with faculty members, you get a pretty good, education. People aren't really left behind. People aren't treated as a number. People are treated as people. And that's something that I wanted to, that's something that I wanted.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you for you hit the points, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with respect to what tech is versus bigger schools, for example.
Yeah.
So once at tech, were you actually able to do something else about studying and studying and other things related to academics? I hope so.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked, actually. So this is something I kind of pride myself on, is I do a lot of stuff. About starting my second year, I really started trying to find other things that I could participate, because, it is fun hanging out with friends, but it does get a little dull at some point. So I started looking into things that I could do. So the first thing that I got into was I was working at the Chemistry Learning Center on campus, which as a chemistry major, that's something that is going to be pretty easy for you to do going along with your coursework. So there you tutor basically all of the general levels of chemistry as well as organic chemistry. And I think that's a pretty good experience to, buff up your communication skills, as well as kind of hammer home some of your, solidify your ground level chemistry understanding. So other things that I was able to do is, I started undergraduate research with Dr. Valenzano, which I would say is something that also definitely started to hammer my skills, because it's in, in your coursework, you get a lot of understanding of sort of like ground level and a lot of, you touch applications, but you don't really develop them. That's something that research is really good at, is you can start to explore some of these more advanced, higher level topics that you don't really get a whole lot of exposure to in your coursework. over the course of my time here at Tech. Actually, this year I am the president of the American Chemical Society, which is, nationally renowned and recognized group of, chemistry people, chemistry spokespeople, which is something that, I'm pretty proud of here. It's nice. And there's a lot of other opportunities that you can have, not necessarily just in the chemistry department. There's several other learning centers you can work at on campus. I do a lot of stuff in the humanities department because that ties in with my minor of international French. I actually was able to study abroad my freshman year, which that's a wonderful experience that I hope everyone would be able to get at some point, widen your horizons. So there's so many opportunities that are available to you. It's hard to touch on them all.
Wow, that's good. You actually cover lots of ground, and seems like in spite of doing all this outside your actual academic field, you managed to be a successful student and yet have fun and learn from others too. And so that's a good example. That's good. All right, so
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was say, sometimes, I can say, oh, maybe I might have bitten off a little bit more that I can chew, but I'm also doing, a crazy amount of extra stuff. So, you definitely do not need to be, trying to dig down at this level. I know a lot of people who do like one thing and they're comfortable with that. Some people just do research. They're fine with that. Some people just work at the Learning Center. That's good enough for them.
Sure.
And that's, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good that Tech actually is able to support the different profiles that students can have, right? And so in a sense, Tech provides support for students who want to concentrate on one topic and dig down into that versus others who feel like they want to be exposed to other experiences. So the fact that Tech can actually help students in finding what they actually are more tuned toward is a good thing, and it's a give and take situation, from our point of view and the students, and vice versa. So it's good for all the stakeholders in place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so I have another question for you. Let's see. So this is important, especially I think this will be interesting for prospective students and their families too, to have some advice about how to start, right? How to get the ball rolling and be successful consistently. So if you had to suggest anything to prospective students interested in enrolling in chemistry at Tech in our program, what would you say? What would you suggest to them?
Yeah, so some advice that I got pretty early on is, so my freshman year, I joined the American Chemical Society that had a lot of higher, level students, a lot of seniors and juniors. And something that they told me was, oh, you're a freshman, you need to get, exposure to all of like these clubs, all of these, all like research, get exposure to all of that as soon as you can. And I think that is horrible advice in my opinion. I think it's important your freshman year to try to understand what your limits are. Okay, maybe join a club, maybe two, but mostly focus on your schoolwork. See like, oh, I have a whole lot of extra free time. I can definitely start to do some extra stuff here. Kind of test to see where you're comfortable at. Because if you start out and then like week 2, you're in like a research lab, that's not going to give you like a very good understanding of all of the stuff you can do. That's kind of inflating your work amount. So take some time, enjoy your experience as a freshman at university. And then at that point, after maybe about a semester or 2, you can say, oh, I think I'm ready to start adding some stuff on. Whether it could be a part-time job, it could be doing undergraduate research, it could be really anything. And while I mentioned undergraduate research, that's something that I would recommend after you've had some experience though. Another downside to trying to do stuff early is that you don't have a whole lot of exposure to a lot of these topics that a lot of the professors are doing research in. There aren't a whole lot of professors doing research in general chemistry. You need to start getting some of those higher level courses under your belt before you can really start to appreciate what they're doing. But absolutely, like second year, third year, that's when a lot of people start to go into research. I would absolutely recommend doing research. A little tip that I would give out is a lot of people are very concerned about how to approach professors and say, hey, I would like to do research. So you can ask anyone who's done it. It's kind of awkward to start out, and that's just kind of how it is. So I emailed a couple of professors freshman year before I had any idea what I was doing, and they all shot me down immediately. And that, doesn't feel great in the moment, but you kind of have to just work through that process. So, what I did is I sent out emails to professors saying, hey, I visited your research page. I looked at some of your stuff. I talked to some of your grad students. Your work interests me. Can we talk about that? Most professors will say yes. And then, you can come, you can talk about it. They'll gauge your skill level. And then you could say, oh, you'd probably be a good fit. Or, I appreciate this, but you might need a little bit more experience before you can do this. The absolute worst thing that they can say to you is no. And it's not like a no, I'm never going to talk to you again. It's like a no, come back later after you've, refined your skills a little bit. Come back, more than happy to help you.
Okay, well,
so that's what I would say.
Yes.
So one more thing I probably should mention is, what research entails actually. So without going into like too much depth into like actually my research project, what I would say is it kind of depends on which professor you're working with. I work with Dr. Valenzano, and we do a lot of stuff through a digital interface, which is something that's pretty nice to me because I can do work remotely without having to go to lab on campus. I know some people who are doing wet labs though, and that's more of like a specific time commitment. You don't want to do like, oh, I'm going to go into lab for an hour today, an hour tomorrow. That causes you to go back and forth to campus a lot. This is, good for me because, I can just log on an hour, build some molecules, work on that. But it kind of depends on what you're doing. My time commitment varies. Typically, most people, I would say, is about 6 hours per week for doing undergraduate research. And there's a whole lot of avenues you can do this. You can volunteer to do research. You can take research for credit, which works really well with the chemistry major. Or if you're lucky, you can apply for a grant. You can get paid to do research, which I think that's kind of everyone's dream.
And this is what happened to you, right?
Yeah, that was very beneficial for me. I've actually been fortunate enough to receive 2 grants for my research, which people are lucky enough to receive one. So I'm sitting pretty over here. It's working out nicely.
Yeah, and we should also mention that we are recording this in March 2021. So we are exactly 1 year, almost to the day, into the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm going to add a few things about your research experience, since I was fortunate enough to have you working with me. And things worked extremely well. Tech shut down in the middle of March of 2020. And I believe, Steve, you left campus after a week or so, almost immediately, because that's what tech asked students to do. And after I think a week, you were back home. We restarted again your project. And yes, indeed, we are very fortunate. I'm a quantum chemist. I'm a theoretician computational, so I don't really need a lab, because our lab is the computer and the workstations on campus, and the computational facilities we have at Tech, on which we can log from wherever we are in the universe. So in that sense, I consider myself extremely fortunate, because in the last year, my research program kept moving on at undergrad and grad level. And so I can only imagine the struggle of wet chemists in this time. So I really feel for them. And by the way, I'm also going to mention that there will be a link to your video on your poster presentation that you recorded recently, so that students and families who are interested can also go and look into what sort of research you have been doing with me. I have one last question. So you told us about your story, so we have built this narration. And I cannot close this short meeting with you without asking you what's in your future. Where do you see yourself after Tech? And the classical question, where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years from now?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'm kind of asking myself as well. I'm kind of unsure specifically where I want to go. I can see my internet connection is unstable here. So
yeah, a bit. It's okay. I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah, so my plan as it stands right now is when I graduate, I'm going to try to go into industry for a little bit, feel around, see if that's the right place for me. And if it is, I might stay there for longer. If not, one thing that I think I would like to do is go into grad school at some point, whether that's a master's degree or a PhD, yet to be determined. But I definitely think I like learning. You know, I like the academia atmosphere. So I would definitely be open to coming back at some point, getting some more refined experience. But I kind of want some experience, you know, in the real world before I make that decision.
And I mean, you have been a star in organic chemistry at Tech, actually, I believe. I think you took all the organic chemistry classes that were available to you. Is
I've
it
taken
right?
every undergrad organic chemistry that is offered here. Yes.
Which is what, 4, 5 classes?
So that is technically 3, but there are some that are kind of adjacent, organic adjacent, if you will.
Yeah, but then, yeah, and you also shared your experience in some grad classes in organic chemistry, right? I think intermediate with Dr. Fan.
Intermediate organic chemistry is offered at a graduate level. Yes.
Yeah. So plus all the labs, right? So you did all the.
Oh yeah, along with the labs as well. Yeah, I have a good amount of experience. At least I would like to think.
And I think you've been a SI supplemental instructor for organic as well.
Technically, I have not worked as a supplemental instructor, but I have worked with the organic supplemental instructors to make course material. Supplemental instructors work with the learning center coaches. I'm also friends with a lot of them, so we sometimes bounce ideas off of each other. And oh, hey, this is something that's coming up. Might want to mention this in your little lecture.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand your willingness and eagerness of actually having an industrial experience, right, in a wet lab, or not. I mean, we know that industry nowadays are really very much tuned towards computational chemistry, cheminformatics, informatics, etc. So you have a wide range of experiences that you developed at TAT. I believe that will allow you to be successful. And as I told you already a few times in our individual meetings, when you had questions about future and I'm not sure what to do, whatever you are going to decide to do, Steve, I cannot see why you shouldn't be successful, right? I mean, you have been working hard. You're a serious student. You're a serious person. You take at heart your commitments towards others and towards yourself. And that's what people are always looking for. So actually, we are very proud of having you here, and we always want more students like you. And I'm particularly happy that our paths intersected, and I will surely miss you once you know you will move on. But that's always the bittersweet situation. I mean, when I accept students, if we match and we fit, then it's wonderful to see you going, and it's unbelievable for me to having the feeling that I helped you a bit, but it's a bit sad too at the same time. So, do you want to add anything else before we close this meeting?
I would say that overall, my experience at Tech I would say definitely what it has done, both personally and professionally, is it has kind of refined me to be someone where I feel like I can go into the real world and I feel like I can function properly, whether that's like in an industrial setting, like, in work, or, just working out in society. I feel that like my social skills, my professional skills, I feel that it's kind of, buffed me up, made me a pretty well-rounded. So I feel comfortable in, going into really any area of where I would need to go in my future.
Well, that's good to hear. And you should feel that way, and still preserve your humbleness and even a bit of a naive way of seeing the world, which is good. I think we need more people like you in general. Well, okay. I think we can wrap this up, Steve. I would like to thank you once again for accepting the invitation to talk to me today and to share your experience, most importantly, with future students at Tech and their families. Um, Thank you again, Steve, and we wish you all the best for your future. All right.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Bye bye, Steve. Thank you. Bye. Take care.